Yo, I'm Brendan, and today we're going to talk about how much money I made dividend investing for an entire year, going from $700 all the way up to over $30,000. Let's go. This all started out last year whenever I decided that I wanted to just dividend experiment and see what would happen. Because largely all of our net worth that we have that's invested in the stock market is in ETFs. It's in really well diversified stuff. It's in really safe stuff. And most of it's in retirement accounts, which means there's nothing to play with. There's nothing to really experiment with. I've always liked the idea of dividends and getting income and that kind of thing. Even though I wouldn't take it out at this time, I wouldn't use it for anything like burritos and race cars. I would just reinvest it. I would set it to have a dividend reinvestment plan, a drip plan. So it just keeps going in and it grows more and more. But for now, I wanted to just experiment and see what does it look like to try and pick good dividend stocks? What does it look like to create a portfolio that's well-rounded for something that can pay me as much income as possible while also growing, while also being fairly safe? And that's what I've worked on over time. You can see wherever I started with $704 in the account. I bought a little bit of stuff here and there. I bought EPD, WKLY, PSEC, and got $4 in dividends the first month. Nothing to sneeze at, nothing very exciting. Technically, that'd be a 7.2% return for the year, which wouldn't be bad to maintain, but it was a slow start. Then over time, I contributed more and more. In March, I invested $7 more. In April, I invested 73 more. In May, I invested 64 more. It was a slow start. Finally, in August, when the account had grown just a little bit, I invested a whopping $9,000 more just to jumpstart the account and get over that $10,000 total invested mark. And that's really when we started to see some exciting dividend numbers, because we went from around $4 or $5 a month in terms of dividends, and we jumped all the way up to $73 just in 1 month. So that was starting to become real money. Still burrito money, not quite race car money, but we're getting there. Then the really big difference maker happened in December whenever I transferred money from my M1 Finance account into Robinhood, because they had a transfer bonus offer where if you transferred money or stocks from another portfolio and you sent it into Robinhood, then you got a bonus on top of that. So I basically sent in $18,300 worth of other dividend paying stocks into Robinhood, and as a result, I got a bonus of $181 on top of that. So I got paid enough to buy one race car tire because I moved my stocks around. So that was great. Now the account was hovering right around that $30,000 mark. And so I needed to just invest a little bit more to put us over the edge and reach $30,000. As of today, it's March 1st, 2024. And I invested another $895 this month just to make sure we got over that $30,000 number. And we made it with flying colors. It was not a big deal. Even though last month I had a big stinker in terms of a stock that I'd picked MPW, which is Medical Properties Trust. Man, it's this REIT that has their main tenant can't pay their bills. And so that stock plummeted essentially 50% since I've had it. That is not a good marker of the future of success that I want to have with this portfolio. But overall, I've done fairly well. It's only March 1st, but my gains year to date are a whopping 0.2%. Wow. Very impressive. In the last 1 year, my gains have been 4.29%, which isn't anything too terrible when we compare that to basically keeping the money in cash somewhere, probably be about the same, 4.2, 5%, something like that. But the difference between keeping it in cash and having it invested here is I made that 4.2% and I got paid dividends on top of it. So it's time to total that up and give you the actual return on dividend investing that I've gotten for the last year. How much money in dividends have I made, and what does that percentage equal out to be? So my total contributions, all the money that I have put in myself that isn't a gain or a dividend, is $29,597. That's what's come out of my pocket or my other accounts to make this happen. And the total dividends I've gotten are $490.66. If we're racing a cheap car, that might be enough to buy a tire for all four corners. Otherwise, it's just a lot of burritos, which isn't bad. I'll take burritos, but I want to work my way up to race cars. If you're wondering why I keep mentioning that, I just both love burritos and race cars. And so it's like my metric of if a dividend is paying me enough to buy a burrito, that's pretty good. If it's paying me enough to think about buying a race car, it's doing really good. And so we might be tempted to say, hey, let's just divide those two numbers to say you've invested $29,000, you've got almost $500, there's your return right there. But it's not as simple as that, because I've only had $29,000 in there for like a month and a half. So it doesn't really reflect the total return whenever I've gotten dividends based on this really small amount of money invested, and now there's a big amount of money. It'll make the return look really small relative to what's really happened. So what we need to do is use my side calculation over here, where for each month, basically month by month, I've done the math to figure out if the money was invested at this rate for a year, what would that look like? And I've averaged all that out. So unfortunately for me, this month has been rather weak because it's only been a 3.48% essentially APY based on just this month's returns. But if we do the average of the yearly rates by month, so if this is saying each month by month, I take that relative rate and then average all those out. So I get essentially what my return has been over time, not just doing the total divided by the total. I've got a dividend portfolio that pays 7.24%, which is pretty awesome. So if I've got a 7.24% portfolio plus a little over 4% for the year, we're up there around 11.5%. That's a pretty good return. Not as good as the S&P 500 was last year, because I got like closer to 16. But in terms of a different kind of perspective, a different outcome to generate income and see what that looks like, this is pretty darn good. So what does the future hold? Is it worth continuing to do this? What are the plans for the next year? Well, so far this has been really fun because I actually have something to do with my investments. Otherwise, everything else just sits there and grows on its own. We've already reached coast fire, which means that we don't necessarily have to invest anymore. And by the time we reach traditional retirement age, we'll be set. So I'm not that motivated to keep shoveling money in the way I was in like my 20s and 30s. I guess I'm still in my 30s. I'm 36. But this kind of thing is just a lot more fun. It's a lot more involved, if you will. And so the plan for this year is to read the dividend books that I bought last year and I intended to make videos about, because I want to share with you some deeper learnings and some deeper concepts than just kind of playing around and fumbling through the dark. I want to share with you the things that I learned from these pros, or self-declared pros anyway, who write these dividend books. I want to share that so that we can learn together and go, oh, there's a different perspective on this thing in terms of how do we craft a portfolio that pays dividends well. So subscribe if you want to see those. And for the time being, I don't have any reason to remove this money out of the account. I want it to just keep paying me dividends and keep growing on its own. And so for now, I want to keep it invested. We do have some cash sitting on the sidelines in our M1 Finance account. Here, I'll pull that up and show you. So because M1 Finance is paying 5% interest right now, kind of had to take advantage of that, because why not? Keep the cash completely safe. There's no way you lose money. You just get paid interest. So for example, yesterday, we got paid $99 in interest just for having the money in there. That's great. We're making $100 a month to do nothing and just sit on this cash. So for us right now, I think that makes sense to hold onto the cash, because I just quit my job 2 days ago to make videos with you full time. So I'm making essentially 1/10 of the money that I made at my full-time job right now. So for you and me to be here together, it means a lot to me. The fact that you're watching this, it helps me out a lot, because I want this to be what I can do full time. I want to bring you new videos, if not every day, almost every day. Because in my mind anyway, the more that we learn and grow together, the more we benefit, the more our balances benefit, the better we can invest, the richer we get, the more options we have. I think this warrants its own video in the future, but sometimes we think about investing in terms of, I'm either working on investing and I'm putting money away and it doesn't mean anything for me yet, or I have so much money that I'm retired and I can do anything with my life. And I think that for me, that thought was always binary. It was always one or the other. But there is actually this middle ground where we're at, where I go, Coast-Fi is this interesting place where I don't feel the same pressure to keep shoveling money away, because I know that we'll be okay once we hit 60, we'll have millions of dollars, we'll be fine. And I didn't realize that actually enables you now to make these kind of decisions, to go, hey, I think I can take a shot at doing this side hustle and try and make it my full-time hustle. So I want everyone to have as many financial options as possible. Maybe you can get a better job. Maybe you can move to a better place. Maybe there's all these middle ground gray areas between the day I started investing and the day I'll retire, that we actually benefit from having this money invested. So I want to pursue that together with you and share what I learn along the way. I'm by no means some investing guru that has all the answers, that can share with you all the secrets and the mysteries of the world. I just want to share with you my experience and go, here's a mistake I made. Let's say I invested in MPW. It was a mistake. You shouldn't invest the way I did. Or here's a book I read, and here's the things that I learned from that book, just to save you the time. So if you have any questions about my dividend portfolio, then leave me a comment. If you're a member, then you get priority reply to questions, and I'll make dedicated videos for you based on your questions and concerns a lot of the time. So if you really have a burning question that you need to be answered, then go ahead and join the memberships. No pressure if you don't want to, but I'm also going to be making a full breakdown on my exact portfolio and how much I have invested in each thing. And that's just going to be a members only video, at least for now. So members, keep your eye out for that one. It's coming very soon. And for everybody else, until next time, see you later. Bye.